Alexander Hamilton didn't just build the American financial system, he paid for it in sweat, hush money, and a scandalous year-long obsession that would make a modern porn star blush. While his wife and children were fleeing the sweltering heat of the city, Hamilton was busy opening his door to a crying woman who claimed to be a victim, but turned out to be the most dangerous predator in Philadelphia. This wasn't just a mistake, it was the world's first high-stakes political honey trap. Imagine the most powerful man in the US Treasury, the right hand of George Washington, being blackmailed by a low-life criminal while his mistress watched from the shadows. He wasn't just playing with fire, he was dousing his entire legacy in gasoline and handing the match to his worst enemies. It all started with a knock. Maria Reynolds stood there, looking like a shattered angel. She told Hamilton her husband had abandoned her and she needed money to get back to her family. Hamilton, driven by a mix of ego and a very specific type of hunger, didn't just give her money. He visited her bedroom that very night. But here's the kicker. Her husband, James Reynolds, wasn't gone. He was lurking in the hallway, listening to every moan, every whisper, and every bedsheet rustle. He wasn't an angry husband, he was an entrepreneur. He realized that Hamilton's lust was more valuable than gold. He sent Hamilton a letter that essentially said, "I know you're sleeping with my wife. You can keep doing it, but it's going to cost you." Hamilton, the genius who could calculate the national debt in his sleep, actually paid the bill. He handed over $1,000, thousands in today's money, just for the privilege of continuing the affair. James Reynolds even invited Hamilton to visit as a friend to keep the facade going. It was a three-way psychological game. Maria would write Hamilton letters, begging him to come over, claiming she was lonely and heartbroken. Hamilton would rush to her, knowing he was being bled dry, unable to stop. He was addicted to the danger. He was the Secretary of the Treasury, yet he was being used as a personal ATM by a couple of con artists who knew exactly which buttons to push to keep him coming back for more. But secrets in Philadelphia didn't stay secret for long. Hamilton's political enemies, men like James Monroe and Thomas Jefferson, started noticing weird financial discrepancies. They saw the payments to James Reynolds and jumped to the most logical conclusion. Hamilton was using government funds to speculate in the stock market. They thought they had him on corruption. They thought they could hang him for treason. When they confronted him, Hamilton had a choice: admit he was a thief, or admit he was a pathetic, blackmailed adulterer. Most men would have lied. Most men would have burned the evidence. But Alexander Hamilton was not most men. He had a pride that bordered on insanity. He decided to go nuclear. He didn't just confess to his enemies, he confessed to the entire world. In 1797, he published the Reynolds pamphlet, nearly 100 pages of absolute, unfiltered filth. He published Maria's thirsty letters. He described the exact times and places they met. He laid out the blackmail payments line by line. He effectively stood in the middle of the public square and shouted, "I am not a corrupt politician. I'm just a man who couldn't keep his pants zipped." The public was horrified. His wife, Eliza, was humiliated beyond words. His political career didn't just die, it was vaporized. He chose to destroy his family's heart just to keep his financial honor intact. This is the man on your $10 bill. A man who survived the revolution, helped write the Constitution, and then threw it all away because he couldn't resist a damsel in distress who was actually a shark in a corset. This scandal changed the DNA of American politics forever. It taught every politician after him that the bedroom is just as much a battlefield as the front lines. Hamilton's obsession with Maria Reynolds proved that even the greatest minds are slaves to their lowest instincts. He was a master of the world, but a servant to his own biology. He died in a duel years later, but his reputation had already been shot through the heart by his own hand in that humid Philadelphia bedroom. Think about that next time you see his face. Look at the eyes. They aren't the eyes of a stoic founder. They are the eyes of a man who knew exactly what the lure felt like when it hit the back of his throat. He lived a life of extreme highs and devastating lows, all because he fell for the oldest trick in the book. The Reynolds Affair wasn't just a scandal, it was a blueprint for every political downfall we've seen in the centuries since, from the bedrooms of the 1700s.